The unseen chains. Understanding emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation isn't just in movies or spy novels. It's happening all around you, at work, in relationships, even in your own home. In this video, we'll explore the hidden psychological tactics manipulators use to gain control, how they twist emotions, plant doubt, and make you question reality itself. Understanding these tools gives you the power to break free. We're peeling back the layers of these often subtle yet incredibly damaging behaviors. It's about recognizing the red flags and equipping you with the awareness to navigate your relationships with clarity and confidence. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious and dangerous forms of emotional manipulation. At its core, gaslighting is a tactic where an individual systematically makes you question your own sanity, perception of reality, and judgment. You might hear phrases like, "I never said that," even when you vividly recall the conversation, or perhaps, "You're being too sensitive," or "You always imagine things." These are calculated attempts to dismantle your confidence in your own mind. The gaslighter's aim is to make you doubt what you see, hear, and feel, creating a fog of confusion. It's not an accidental miscommunication, it's a strategic maneuver. The gaslighter needs you to be unsure, to be reliant on their version of events. Over time, the victim of gaslighting becomes so profoundly unsure of their own memory or emotions, they begin to rely almost entirely on the manipulator for their truth. This erosion of self-trust doesn't happen overnight. Each denial, each dismissal, each instance of them rewriting history chips away at your conviction. You start to second-guess yourself constantly. The emotional toll is immense. Victims often experience heightened anxiety, depression, and a pervasive feeling of going crazy. Recognizing gaslighting is the first, most critical step towards breaking free. Start by paying attention to how interactions make you. Do you often leave conversations feeling confused, anxious, or doubting your own sanity, especially with one particular person? These are significant red flags. Guilt. In healthy contexts, guilt can be a moral compass, prompting us to make amends when we've genuinely wronged someone. But in the hands of a manipulator, guilt becomes a potent weapon, a heavy chain they use to bind you to their will. Manipulators are masters at instilling unearned guilt. You'll hear phrases like, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me," or "If you really cared about me, you would." These statements are designed to trigger that deep-seated human desire to be seen as good, caring, and loyal. The more you care, the more conscientious you are, the easier it becomes for them to hook you with these guilt-laden accusations. When a manipulator employs guilt-tripping, they are essentially saying, "Your needs, your boundaries, your desires are secondary to mine." Healthy relationships respect boundaries. They don't punish you for having them. If asserting a perfectly reasonable limit results in a barrage of guilt, that's a major red flag. This tactic is incredibly effective at eroding healthy boundaries. Over time, you might stop asserting your needs altogether because the emotional cost of the ensuing guilt trip is just too high. The manipulator, in essence, trains you to prioritize their emotional state above all else. Recognizing this pattern is key. Does one person in your life consistently make you feel responsible for their emotions? These are strong indicators that guilt is being used as a tool of manipulation against you. Understanding this difference allows you to respond appropriately rather than succumbing to the emotional blackmail. Imagine this. You meet someone and it feels like a whirlwind, a fairy tale come true. They shower you with compliments, lavish gifts, constant attention, and declarations of deep affection, often incredibly early in the relationship. This intense, overwhelming display is known as love bombing. Love bombing is a tactic designed to overwhelm your emotional defenses and fast-track a sense of deep attachment and dependency. The manipulator creates an illusion of a perfect connection, making you feel like you finally found the one. The sheer volume and speed of the affection can be disorienting. You might receive constant texts, calls, unexpected presents, and grand gestures. This isn't genuine, organic connection, it's a calculated campaign. The primary goal of love bombing is to get you hooked, to make you emotionally invested and dependent. Once you're thoroughly hooked, the manipulator often begins to subtly, or sometimes abruptly, withdraw. The compliments become less frequent, the gifts stop, the attention wanes. This withdrawal of affection, after such an intense period of idealization, is incredibly painful and confusing. You're left wondering what you did wrong, why things have changed. This pattern creates an addictive cycle, much like intermittent reinforcement in behavioral psychology. The unpredictable nature of their affection keeps you constantly seeking their approval. Protecting yourself involves maintaining a healthy pace in new relationships and trusting your gut if something feels too much too soon. Triangulation is a subtle yet incredibly effective manipulation tactic where a third person is brought into the dynamic between two people, often to create conflict, comparison, jealousy, or to reinforce the manipulator's narrative. It's a psychological game of divide and conquer, designed to keep you off balance and vying for the manipulator's approval or attention. Manipulators create this confusion and instability by strategically involving this third party. They might subtly compare you to this other person, saying things like, "My ex never had a problem with this," or "So-and-so thinks I'm right about this, why don't you?" Sometimes the third party isn't even directly involved, but is used as a pawn. The manipulator might hint at what others supposedly think about you, or share or fabricate opinions from this third person to make you doubt yourself. The core purpose of triangulation is to destabilize you. It keeps you constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering how you measure up. By introducing this third element, they prevent direct, healthy communication between the two primary individuals. This tactic is incredibly effective at making you doubt yourself and your own perceptions. Triangulation also serves to deflect responsibility. If you raise a concern, the manipulator might say, "Well, the third person doesn't see it that way," using the other person as a shield. Recognizing triangulation requires you to step back and observe the patterns. A conversation's often rerouted to include the opinions or actions of a third party, especially in a way that makes you feel bad or puts you on the defensive. To disengage from triangulation, refuse to play the game. Maintain direct lines of communication where possible. Silence. In many contexts, it can be golden, a space for reflection, for peace. But in the hands of an emotional manipulator, silence becomes a weapon. The silent treatment or sudden emotional withdrawal is not just someone needing to cool off after an argument. It's a deliberate tactic designed to punish, control, and make you feel rejected and desperate for reconciliation. When a manipulator employs the silent treatment, they are essentially communicating, "You have displeased me, and now you will be cut off from my affection, my attention, my very presence, until you figure out what you did wrong and make amends, usually on my terms." This tactic creates an intense feeling of anxiety and self-doubt. You might rack your brain, trying to figure out what you did to cause this sudden freeze-out. Was it something you said, something you did? The manipulator rarely clarifies, leaving you in a state of limbo. This is not the same as someone needing a brief period of space to calm down and process their emotions before re-engaging constructively. Healthy space-taking usually involves communication, like, "I need some time to think, let's talk later." The manipulative silent treatment, however, is punitive, prolonged, and aimed at making you feel powerless and anxious. It powerfully exploits the fundamental human need for connection and attachment. This tactic creates a significant power imbalance. The manipulator holds all the cards. They decide when the silence begins and when and if it ends. Over time, this conditions the victim to walk on eggshells. Coping with this requires immense strength and self-soothing techniques to manage the anxiety it induces. Here's the truth. Emotional manipulation thrives in silence and confusion. But the moment you understand its tactics, the moment you can name what's happening, you take the power back. You don't need to fight fire with fire or become manipulative yourself. You just need clarity, strong boundaries, and a commitment to your own emotional awareness. Knowledge, as the subtitle says, truly is your shield. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And if you want more deep dives into the psychology of influence, persuasion, healthy relationships, and emotional self-defense, subscribe to the channel.